It was Shakespeare who said, "If music be the food of love, then play on." Hi, I'm your host, Paul Scavella, and welcome once again to Around the Conference. Today we're going to be talking about music, and in particular, spiritual music. And joining me on the program is one who has dedicated his life to Christ, and as such, his music that God has been using to help men and women come to Jesus Christ. And so we want to welcome to the program today Mr. Colyn Major. It's certainly a privilege having you here with us today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
I have known you as the Bible sometimes reflects from my youth up.
Yes.
I came into my own knowing the Major family. And that was because you were part of a family that was major in the Adventist community way back in the day, as we would say. And I've grown up looking up to you as a young person. I can remember that family, your mother and your father and your siblings. I think it was 5 of you as boys.
6 boys.
6 boys and 1 girl.
1 girl.
Yes. And, because of that and the impact that your parents had, we always had a relationship over the years. Bahamas Academy.
Right.
And then I think I remember you going off to school, or hearing about you going off to school to Oakwood.
West Indies
College first.
Last 2 years of high school.
Okay. And then to Oakwood.
Oakwood.
Yeah.
And then Loma Linda.
Yeah. And then I remember your discipline, I think, in the area of counseling.
That's right.
Yeah. Am I correct?
That's right.
Okay.
I did my master's thesis. It was a thesis on a guidance program for Bahamas Academy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so we need to hear more about that.
We can find it.
But God is so good.
He is.
Because in the Adventist church, we have discovered that parents who have invested in their children in these areas of Christian education and taking them to church and all the rest of it, that at the end of the day, there are so many benefits and rewards that come as a result of that when we're obedient to God. And that's all God expects of us.
It is.
Yeah, to be obedient to His word. So, that's my panoramic view. And then in more recent times, you've been home working and serving in the church yourself over the years. What was your childhood like in that major home?
Well, with 7 siblings, Dawn was the eldest.
Yeah.
And so it was Dawn and myself and then Keith. So we were like a threesome, the first 3, and I was the middle child.
Okay.
In that instance. But it was a good experience being in the Major family. Sometimes there's this, how do I describe it? Favoritism. Sometimes kids feel
Maybe a little rivalry.
Yeah, one is favored above the other. But my mom always said that she could always get Colyn to do stuff.
Okay.
And even though I turned my nose up, but even though I turned my nose up and pouted, I'd still end up going to do it. And so that even happens today. When they want stuff, they'll go to Colyn.
They go to Colyn.
And Colyn still turns his nose. Why me all the time? And I realized, hey, those are my parents.
Right.
So just go and do it.
Right.
And I live the closest to them, so when anything happens, I'm the one that has to be there.
Yes.
But it's a joy. I love my parents, and because of all the things they did. But when I was 3 years old, I was in an accident.
You were?
I was knocked down on Fort Montague Beach.
Is that so?
We were out on holiday. It was the Queen's birthday. And my mom called us to come for some mangoes, I think it was. And we were in the sand playing. And you know, kids, they don't respond right away.
Right.
You always wait till your parents' voice get to that decibel level and you know it's time to move. And so I got up and dusted my hands off and ran across the road without looking.
Without looking.
And I was hit. I have the scar to show it. The car is still here on my left arm. It was a race car driver.
Wow.
And the gentleman found out is some family member way back there, you know, but that was an accident. I was in a coma for about a week or so. And my mom said to me, one morning, I just woke up and said, Mommy, I could sing.
You could sing.
Yeah. And I've been singing ever since.
Ever since.
Ever since.
Well, you know, I never heard that story before.
she told me about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an amazing thing.
Yeah, you know, and certainly amazing because, you know, God knows the plans
Yes.
that He has for us.
Yeah.
And sometimes He carries us through various paths to bring us to His purpose
Yes.
in our lives. And so from the age of 3, at this particular juncture, you wake up and you say, Mommy,
Yeah.
I can sing.
Can sing, yeah.
And you've been singing ever since.
Been singing ever since.
Yeah. You know, the church has really been blessed because of your willingness to be used by God in this area. Is singing the only musical talent that you have?
Well, no, like you, my parents sent us the music.
Okay.
All 7 of us.
Wow.
And and they sent us to 2 different piano teachers.
Okay.
Keith and I went to Miss Mallory.
Miss Mallory.
And Dawn and Craig went to Mr. Russell.
Yeah, I went to Mr. Cash.
Okay.
'Cause I figured he had some cash.
Right. Yeah, and then Stanley went with us as well. But we learned how to play from then.
Okay.
And we used to hate it, going to music.
Yeah.
And then when I went off to West Indies College at age 13 to do my last 2 years of high school, I wanted to switch from the piano. I wanted something else. And I always liked the string bass. And I forget the lady's name. It was a white lady who was in charge of the orchestra. And she said, but we don't have a string bass, but we have the cello. And so I learned to play the cello.
Is that so?
Yeah, for about a year. And then the next year, they had, the string bass became available.
Okay.
So then I learned to play the string bass.
Right.
And so I've been playing those, and then I migrated to the organ after playing the piano a little bit. Started playing for churches. You know, as a matter of fact, I was playing for church when I was 12. And that's what my parents did. They sent you to learn how to play, and then they gave you the opportunity in AY and in Sabbath school, things of that nature.
Right.
So they allowed you to use your talents. And then Keith would have to play with the choir.
Yes.
Didn't necessarily want to do it all the time, but my parents got us opportunities to learn how to play. And so I've been playing for church from I was 12.
Yeah.
And
you know, I tell parents all the time that if you give your children opportunity to learn a musical instrument, not only are you giving them the opportunity to learn how to play that instrument, but you're also giving them the opportunity to use that talent
Yes.
to help them to earn funds.
Yes.
You know,
Yep.
because when I went to West Indies College back in 1975, I got the opportunity to teach at an all-girls Catholic school.
Okay.
And I was able to teach them guitar lessons and also conduct their choir.
Okay.
And so I used to pocket a couple of dollars well.
All right.
Didn't have to write home so often for money. Back in those days, you had to write and wait for somebody to come or for them to send it, you know. So it provides the individual with not only the gift, but also the capacity to use that gift to help them along, even in a financial way.
And saying what you're saying, I've been playing for about 21 years for the Baptist Church.
Okay.
Because there's a need for musicians all over.
Yes.
Our church and everywhere else.
Yes.
And mind you would think that after so many years that a church would decide to get their own individual, But people aren't doing that today.
Yeah.
You know, sending their kids to music.
They're too much into these. Yeah.
You know, and sometimes you have to force them to go because down the road you see the benefit. And I wish that I had kept up with music because I play a lot by ear now.
Right.
And when I watch Raymond and Nelson, Dorset and those guys, I say, boy, I wish I could play like those guys. You know, but when you see me sitting at the organ, a lot of the times it's just playing by ear. Right. And the thing is, I tell folk, I said I can play in the dark.
Yes.
I can find the keys. And that's because you've been doing it all along and practicing. And so, and it's a joy. I love it. And Keith loves it too.
Yes.
But you know, and that's why when you talk about serving, I've been playing for Sabbath school for I don't know how long, and it's the discipline that comes along with it too. When you learn music, it requires the discipline to do what you have to do to practice.
Absolutely.
And then to be on time
Yes.
for services and know that you're expected to be there because it helps the church to function and to function properly. You know, so you begin to realize your role and how this gift that God gave you is supposed to benefit the church and other people.
Yes.
You know, as well as it helps you because the joys I get whenever there's a down moment, I go to my keyboard.
And just play.
Oh yeah. And as a matter of fact, I'm reorganizing my room now. As soon as I leave here, I'm getting some shelves put up in my room because I'm getting rid of all of my books and whatever because I have 3 keyboards and I'm gonna be doing my music.
Boy. You know, the Bible says in Psalm 96 verse 1, "Oh, sing unto the Lord a new song.
New song.
Sing unto the Lord all the earth. Sing unto the Lord, bless his name.
Yes.
Show forth his salvation from day to day. Declare his glory among the nations."
Amen.
You know, I think this is the purpose of music. You know, whether it be singing or through the instruments, is to declare the glory of the Lord.
Yes.
And you know, the devil knows that. And unfortunately, sometimes he takes music and uses it to declare the glory of the enemy.
Yes.
But I thank God for people like you who have given your talents back to God because he gave it to you in the first place. And you've been using it to declare his glory.
Amen.
And we're going to talk a little bit about that as we come back on the other side of this program this afternoon or today, rather, because we want to see exactly how God has been using you to declare his glory to the nations and to his people.
Amen.
So don't go away. We'll be right back here on Around the Conference.
What a friend we have in Jesus. All our sins and griefs to bear. What a privilege to carry everything to God in prayer. And oh, what peace we often forfeit. And oh, what needless pain we bear. It's all because we do not carry everything to God in prayer. Have we trials and temptations? Is there trouble anywhere? We shall never be discouraged. Just take it to the Lord in prayer. Can we find a friend so faithful, who will all our sorrows share? Jesus knows our every weakness. Just take it to the Lord in prayer. Can we find a friend so faithful, who will all our sorrows share? Jesus knows our every weakness. Just take it to the Lord in prayer. Take it to the Lord in prayer.
Welcome once again to Around the Conference. I'm your host, Paul Scaveller, and we've been having an exciting conversation with Colyn Major about how God has been using him in the area of music and how he really directed his life from the very early age of 3 years old when he opened his eyes after a major accident and said, "Mommy, I can sing." Colyn, welcome back to this part of the program.
Thank you.
Again, and we've been talking about how God has been leading you in your journey through this musical experience. We want to give thanks for you and to affirm you for using your gifts and talents in the church in a way that has really added value to our worship service and to the music experience. And the good thing about it is that as I have observed you over the years, you do it with a gusto, a spirit of giving back to God, especially in your local church setting and then at the wider conference, you know, and that's so significant because other young people see that, and I'm sure that it has inspired some of them. One of the things I want you to talk a little bit about, however, in more recent times, you have been putting pen to paper and writing. You know, my grandfather used to, one of his favorite sayings was, "Don't think it, ink it." And you've been doing just that.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your writing experience with the songs and how did some of those happen? How did God inspire you in terms of writing? And is there one that stands out to you or two maybe?
Well, the first song I wrote is called Appointed, Anointed.
Called, Appointed, Anointed. Okay.
And I wrote that back in 84.
1984.
But I didn't bring it out until 2007. What happened was I had been thinking about the same gift that God gave me, and I realized that the gift came from Him. And so there's a calling on my life.
Right.
And when God calls, He also appoints. And He anoints to do the job. And so I did that song then, but didn't get a chance to bring it out because I used to go in the studio to record music and just give them away for Christmas.
Okay.
Until one of my producers, Neil, similar to Real Time Sound, he said to me, he said, Mage, man, you need to start recording this stuff, man, and getting something out there. So it really was him that really started to push the button with that. And then through a Miles Monroe conference in November 2006, when he talked about goal and what's your purpose in life, and he asked people to go around and point out what do you think somebody's purpose is, like Roger Federer's tennis, Tiger Woods was golf. And so this person said, Colyn Major, your music. And I'd never thought about it that way. And the goal was by the next conference to come out with a product. And so I said, oh, sounds good. So that's when I embarked upon that. And I sat down and began to write some songs. And one of the first songs I wrote also was Tell the World.
Tell the world.
And my songs always have a message. It doesn't have a message, I'm not going to do it. I like to write on issues. And it was around that time when the General Conference had this thing about telling the world.
Right.
And so that song came out of that. And it was about you and I, who am I going to call on to go out and give this message? You know, will you go and tell them?
Right.
I'm going to go and tell the world. So all of my songs are based on that. One is about abiding in his presence. You know, that one is about prayer and spending time. God wants time alone with us. And another one is about search me, O God. It's always introspective, getting you to look at yourself and having a deeper relationship with God. And there are two songs I have that have not been released yet.
Don't tell us about that yet.
No, but they.
We'll come to that in a minute.
Yeah, but and they've been written for a while.
Right.
You know, but it's about, here again, it's about your experience.
Right.
And then the other day when there was an issue about crime and the violence, I wrote a song called Peace in the Streets.
Peace, yes, I like that. I've heard it several times.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was one of the 3 nominations for the 2014 Marlin Awards.
Marlin Awards.
Yeah. And so I've always been trying to write stuff based on what's going on in my life or what's going on in society as a means of motivating, inspiring, and uplifting individuals, trying to get them to have a connection with God.
Yeah. As you have experienced this, should I say, this connection with God and God, as it were, blossoming you for the purpose of His kingdom.
Yes.
I think it's significant because, you know, God has a purpose for every life. And what I've discovered recently in talking with new converts, especially coming into the church, they want to know, what is my purpose? How can I best serve God? And I say to them, you know, let's check your passion. You know, what do you like to do? And God can take anything and just mushroom it and blossom it. As a matter of fact, in Isaiah chapter 35, verses 1 through 10, it talks about the fact that God wants to blossom us and cause us to finish well, you know. And so that area of giftedness is something that is on a lot of people's minds.
Yep.
And so your story is an inspiration, I can assure you, to many. And as I heard you, you said at one point, just do it.
Just do it.
Because there are a lot of abilities and gifts that have been buried and lying in the graveyard.
That's right.
And never been exposed.
Exactly.
Because people just didn't do it. But some people might say, you had the support. You know, you had parents who pushed you. You had a church. You know, what do I have? What can I do? I want to do something, but I don't have anything. What do you say to somebody like that?
Well, it begins, just as you said before, with helping them to identify what their passion is.
Yeah.
Once they can identify with their passion, then we cultivate it. And that's what I do, and that's one of the reasons why I do the albums. Because when I teach my first year seminar to my students, and we talk about goal setting, I tell them about goals, and I then introduce some of the things that I've done. They didn't know that side of me.
Right.
'Cause I don't talk about that side of me.
Right.
And then when they see it, then they begin to identify, well, I've got this gift. And as a matter of fact, one of the exercises we do has to do with different intelligences. I studied psychology in college, and they used to give us an IQ test. You either average, above average, genius, below average, or moron, or imbecile. That's how that scored you.
Yeah.
And then another author came up with the fact that you have multiple intelligences.
Yes.
And so I gave them one. I said, now listen, when you have these different multiple intelligences, for example, if you're good with music,
Yes.
then that can add to your life.
Right.
There are different careers you can get into based upon that. And so I just did the exercise last week.
Okay.
And it's spatial, where you can do architecture, verbal or linguistic. And so it just opened up their eyes. I said, now, based on what you decided on as your career, now that you've gotten this new insight, I want you to come back this week and tell me, based on this new insight, and I gave them a list of careers, have you found something else that may be of interest to you?
Right.
And it has to be something that you're passionate about. And that's the whole point about it.
Yes.
What's your passion? And then once you find what your passion is, you have to cultivate it.
Right.
And for example, when I record an album, when I get in the studio, it's normally like a one-shot deal. Because if you go in my car now, if you're driving along with me, I'm singing the songs that I'm going to be recording.
Right.
And so I'm going over them all the time, and my wife knows them all. You know? And so you have to practice your art.
Yes.
And you have to research it and practice it and go over it over and over.
Again.
And then it happens for you. There's a book that I bought called Understanding Your Potential.
Okay.
And when I was vice president of student affairs, I used to take students to leadership conferences. And that particular book helped me, and I used it to help them. Whenever a student came in my office, and as I talked with them, I got 500 as a VP to give out to students.
Yes.
And I said, I think you could use this book.
Yes.
And it just opened up their eyes, because here's somebody who is interested and investing in me. And all it takes really is another person who's interested in them to help them to point out, you know something, you chose this major, but maybe you should be in someone else. I'll give you another example. A student came to me in 2011 in January. She was doing education. Her teacher sent her to me because she was doing education but failing in her major area courses. And so I said, based on your transcript, you're doing well in these courses, but yet you chose these particular courses where you aren't doing so well, and you didn't even pass them in the BGC. See, how come you chose this career? And then she said, well, it's because of the money she needed to get into teaching for some reason. So I said, well, but what is your passion? What do you like to do?
Right.
And then her eyes glistened and she said, history.
History.
And that's how you can tell.
Yeah.
What do their eyes globe about? And I said, tell me about that. So she talked about it, and I said, you know something? You've just registered. I need you to go upstairs. I called the counselor. I said, listen, this young lady needs to switch her major. And she went upstairs and she switched the major. She was already 2 years into her program.
Wow.
And she switched the major and finally graduated. But she's the happiest person because she's now
doing what she loves.
Yeah, a lot of people want to go over there, but they're going in this direction and it won't get them there. You know, so it's a matter of helping them to find that. And people have to take the time.
Yes.
You know, and that's why I love what I do, because when I'm walking around campus, people know me.
Yeah.
I'm always asking, well, how you doing? And if you say I'm doing fine, as compared to I'm doing fine, that non-verbal cue tells me there's something else. And I normally ask, really? What kind of grades are you getting in school? Are you happy with your grades? Yes. I said, is your GPA 3.0 or higher? No. I said, well, you need to see me. And so I'm always engaging them. I don't wait for them to come and find me. I go to look for them and try to help.
So if I can help somebody
Yeah.
along life's way, then my living will not be in vain.
And I think that's why I got into counseling.
Yeah. You know, I have two CDs here that you recently produced. One called The Lamb Found Me, and Christ Remains. And I think I heard you say that you're getting ready to do one for an upcoming conference, a marriage, winning your marriage, something, and then another one in regards to Christmas.
Christmas, that's right.
And so if folk are interested in getting some of these CDs, they're here at the ABC. at our conference office.
Yes.
And you can hear more of Colyn Major's music and his ministry. And as you can see, there's much more to Colyn than just these CDs. And so, Colyn, we want to say we're just, again, so appreciative of what you're doing in this area, and more so in encouraging and helping our young people at UB and in church and wherever you are to find their passion and to grow in that passion so that they can be fulfilling the purpose that God would have them to fulfill while here on this earth. And so we just want to congratulate you again and say thank you for continuing to support the church. I think you mentioned to me that from the sales of these CDs that you're even going to make some contribution to our hurricane relief effort.
Yes.
And so please, we want you to be able to get one of these CDs. And there are others, of course, here at the ABC, and you will be helping the church in our relief efforts, both here in our country and abroad, to make a difference. Well, I think that brings us to the end of our program. I mean, a half an hour just goes by so quickly.
It sure does.
But again, we thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And we're going to continue to pray that God will bless you and use you as you sing and minister for people and you point them to Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Well, here on Around the Conference, we're just so delighted to be able to come into your homes every day. Here at our conference office, at our radio station, and our TV ministry, we are having our pledge-a-thon. And it's 5 to keep us live. That's $5, $15, $25, $5,000. And hey, there might be $5 million out there somewhere to help God's work here at this TV station and our radio program. And so you can participate. And in our churches, over the course of this month, there will be envelopes. You can make a contribution and you can share in helping to make this ministry more effective. Your funds will be used to help to upgrade our equipment and to do a number of things that we would like to do so that we can be better at serving you, the public. And so please feel free to make a contribution at any time to help in this ministry. We also want to remind you that as we go from week to week, and our guests are here with us, that our desire is to help to motivate you and to encourage you to be the kind of servant that God would have you to be. And if there, perchance, there's somebody who wants to begin a new relationship with Jesus Christ, please feel free to call us, and we'd be more than happy to encourage you in this area. Well, until next time, I'm your host, Paul Scavella, and we say thank you for being with us, and we thank you for allowing us to come into your homes. We want you to know that God loves you, and so do we.